Discipline is a beautiful word, but for many people, it has become a weapon, not against the world, but against themselves. You say you're being disciplined, but what you really mean is, I don't let myself rest. I don't allow softness. I don't believe I deserve ease. We confuse structure with self-worth. You think if you wake up early, skip meals, never complain, that makes you strong. But is that strength? Or is it fear wearing a mask? You were told, no pain, no gain. Push harder. Winners don't quit. Discomfort is the path. And yes, some discomfort is growth. But not all of it. Some discomfort is your body begging you to slow down. And you're not listening. Because you think slowing down means falling behind. Let me tell you about Jason. He's 27. Works in finance. Type it. On paper, he's crushing it. Up at 5 a.m. Gym by 6. Emails cleared by 8. Meetings, numbers, deadlines, evening productivity routines. Meditation, timed of course. He tracks everything. Calories, steps, sleep cycles. Every second has a purpose. But here's what he doesn't track: his sadness, his numbness, his loneliness, because those things aren't productive. Jason thought discipline would fix him, make him feel whole, make him proud, make him enough. But instead, he just feels tired, always tired. But he calls it focus. He calls it grind mode. Because admitting burnout feels like weakness. He doesn't realize he's using discipline to hide. This is what happens when discipline has no compassion. It becomes a cage, not a path to growth, but a wall around your heart. You punish yourself in the name of improvement. You skip meals and call it clean eating. You cancel plans and call it focus. You ignore your needs and call it mental toughness. But the truth is, you're afraid. Afraid of slowing down. Afraid of being soft. Afraid of being seen as lazy. Afraid of losing value. So you keep pushing. Even when it hurts. Even when your body says no. Even when your heart is begging you to stop. Carl Jung once said, "Without the shadow there is no light." Your drive is the light. But your shame, that's the shadow. And when you don't face it, it grows. It takes over. It controls you in the name of discipline. You're not chasing goals. You're running from guilt. You're not striving for excellence. You're escaping the fear of being not enough. So let me ask you, what's your why? Do you wake up early because you love the morning? Or because you hate who you are at rest? Do you track everything because it helps you grow? Or because you feel unworthy when you stop? Discipline is meant to support you, not erase you, not exhaust you, not disconnect you from your own needs. Real discipline says, I care about my future, so I rest today. I value my goals, so I protect my energy. I love myself enough to listen when I'm tired. Let me tell you what changed for Jason. One day he didn't hear his alarm. He slept past 8. He missed his workout. Didn't journal. Didn't plan. And for a moment he panicked. He thought, I'm slipping. I'm failing. I'm lazy. But then he noticed something. He felt calmer, clear, a little more human. He realized his body wasn't betraying him, it was saving him. So he did something radical. He took a weekend off. No schedules. No cold showers. No performance. He read. He walked. He napped. And for the first time in years, he felt alive. That was the beginning, not the end. Since then, he still wakes early, sometimes. Still tracks habits, but gently. Still works hard, but not to prove anything. Now it comes from care, not fear. That's the shift. From self-punishment to self-respect. Discipline becomes a tool, not a test. Structure becomes support, not suffering. And most of all, your worth is no longer tied to how perfect you perform. Here's the truth. You don't have to suffer to be valuable. You don't have to break yourself to become someone. You are not a machine. You are not a checklist. You are not a productivity app. You are a soul. You are a body. You are a human being. And that means you need both effort and ease, work and rest, focus and softness, discipline and self-compassion. Let this be your reminder. Rest is not weakness. It's repair. Compassion is not laziness. It's liberation. And the strongest version of you will never come from shame, only from love. We live in a culture that celebrates the grind, hustle, sacrifice, 24/7. It rewards output, not well-being. If you take a break, you feel guilty. If you sleep in, you feel ashamed. If you say, "I need time," you worry they'll think you're weak. But here's the truth. You were not born to burn out. You were not made to be a machine. You are human, and humans need care. Self-compassion isn't an excuse. It's a necessity. You can't build discipline on top of self-hate. It will crack. It will collapse. It will turn into self-sabotage. Because a body running on shame will eventually break down. Let me tell you about Leah. She was always the high achiever, straight A student, early career success, fit, organized, sure, but also exhausted, lonely, quietly breaking. She had no patience for weakness, especially her own. Whenever she failed, she pushed harder. Whenever she felt tired, she told herself to toughen up. She thought, if I show myself compassion, I'll lose my edge. If I go soft, I'll fall behind. So she never did. Not once. Not even when she got sick. Not even when she couldn't get out of bed. She called it discipline. But it was self-abandonment. Then something happened. Her younger sister came to visit. Saw the dark circles. The piles of unfinished food. The blank eyes. She sat her down and said gently, "You treat everyone with kindness, except yourself." That broke her. Not out of pain, but out of recognition. Because somewhere deep inside, she already knew. She had become the person she never wanted to be. Efficient, yes, but empty. So Leah tried something new. Something radical. She started writing to herself, as if she were a friend. Not to fix, not to plan, just to listen. And what she found was not laziness, but grief. Grief for all the years she had pushed herself beyond human limits. Grief for all the emotions she never allowed to exist. Grief for the version of herself that was never held, only managed. This is what people don't understand. Self-compassion is not letting yourself off the hook. It's giving yourself the strength to stay in the game. Long enough to heal. Long enough to grow. Long enough to survive. When you beat yourself up, you're not building resilience. You're building fear. And fear doesn't create discipline. It creates panic. But compassion? It creates safety. And safety creates trust. And when you trust yourself, you show up better, stronger, more consistent. Not because you're afraid of failing, but because you finally believe you're allowed to fall and still be worthy. Carl Jung said, "Without the shadow, there is no light." Your shadow is not just anger. It's your unworthiness, your shame, your silence, all the ways you believe you must earn rest, earn love, earn permission to feel. but light only enters when you stop pretending you're fine. Compassion says, you're struggling, and that's okay. You need rest, and that's human. You're not perfect, and you don't have to be. It's not weakness. It's survival, because in a world that teaches you to hate your soft parts, loving yourself is rebellion. Let me give you an image. A plant doesn't grow faster because you shout at it. It grows because you water it. You give it light. You give it space. Your mind is the same. So is your heart. Discipline without compassion is like watering a plant with fire. It might stand for a while, but eventually it wilts. So ask yourself, are you working from love or from fear? Are you pushing because it brings you joy, or because you think you have something to prove? Self-compassion isn't the opposite of discipline. It's what makes real discipline sustainable. Because true strength isn't just about how hard you go. It's about how deeply you can care for yourself. Here's a truth that might feel uncomfortable. If you've never given yourself a break, you're not disciplined, you're scared. And if you've never spoken kindly to yourself, you're not strong, you're running. But the moment you pause, the moment you say, I am tired and I still matter, that's the moment you stop surviving and start living. Because the people who go the furthest aren't the ones who push hardest. They're the ones who know when to stop, when to breathe, when to offer themselves mercy. And that's not weakness. That's wisdom. Self-compassion isn't a detour from growth. It's the foundation of it. Give yourself that. You've earned it. There's a voice in your head. It sounds like you, but it's not really you. It says things like, you're lazy. You're not trying hard enough. You'll never get it right. And the worst part? You believe it. You think it's your motivation. You think it's helping. But it's not a coach. It's a wound. The inner critic was born in a moment you were hurt, dismissed, rejected, shame. Maybe it came from a parent, a teacher, a breakup, a trauma. Somewhere along the way, you learn this: if I'm hard on myself, I can beat others to the pain. Discipline then wasn't a choice. It was a defense. You told yourself, if I just fix everything about me, no one will leave. If I just become perfect, I'll finally be safe. But perfection doesn't protect you. It disconnects you from yourself, from others, from the possibility of healing. Let me tell you about Jordan. Jordan was this self-help guy. He had the morning routine, cold showers, grind set, checklist, goals on his mirror. But he also had panic attacks, rage episodes, sleepless nights, because what he called discipline was really inner warfare. He woke up at 5 a.m., not from peace, but from fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being rejected. Fear of losing control. Every time he rested, he felt guilty. Every time he failed, he felt worthless. He couldn't tell the difference between being productive and punishing himself. This is the hidden truth. Your inner critic doesn't want your growth. It wants your safety. But it only knows fear. It says, if you slow down, you'll fail. If you mess up, you'll be alone. If you're soft, you'll be destroyed. It sounds strong, but it's scared. It's a scared child in an adult body. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That voice you think is you? It's not fate. It's programming. It's memory. It's pain. And it will keep running your life until you stop and ask, who taught me to speak to myself this way? Here's the truth. No one grows through shame. We grow through safety, through trust, through gentleness. That doesn't mean no structure. It means no violence, because being tough on yourself isn't the same as being strong. Being strong is having the courage to say, this voice isn't helping anymore. This voice might have protected me once, but now it's hurting me. Let's talk about healing. You don't kill the inner critic. You reparent it. You meet that voice with compassion, with boundaries, with truth. You say, I hear you. I know you're scared. But we don't talk to ourselves like that anymore. You learn to build a new voice, one that holds you accountable without crushing you, one that calls you higher without calling you names, one that says, you missed a day. That's okay, start again. You made a mistake. Learn from it, not shame yourself. You're tired. Rest is part of the process. That's a coach. That's growth. You can be disciplined and kind, focused and forgiving, structured and soft. You don't have to choose, because the strongest people aren't the harshest. They're the most self-aware. They know the voice inside shapes everything, so they make sure that voice is one of truth, not trauma. Jordan eventually got help, therapy, support, stillness. He started noticing the voice, writing it down, questioning it. He realized most of the things he said to himself, he'd never say to a friend. And that changed everything, because the moment you stop bullying yourself is the moment you begin to bloom. You don't need a louder inner critic. You need a deeper sense of worth. Because when you believe you are already enough, you no longer need shame to keep you moving. You move from purpose, from care, from clarity. And that's the kind of discipline that lasts. Somewhere along the way, rest became a luxury, not a right, not a need, but something to be earned. And only after you've done enough. Only when you've pushed past your limits. Only when you're barely holding it together. This is the lie. You have to burn out before you're allowed to breathe. We see it everywhere. No days off. Grind now, shine later. Sleep is for the weak. So we internalize it. We chase achievement like it's our worth. And when we finally slow down, guilt shows up. Shame creeps in. You lie in bed and think, I should be doing something. I'm wasting time. I haven't earned this break. But rest is not a reward. It's fuel. It's not the end of the work. It's part of it. Let me tell you about Sarah. She was a high achiever, top of her class, straight A student, first to get a promotion. But she couldn't sit still. Literally, weekends made her anxious. Vacations felt wrong. Her calendar was always full, even if she was empty. One day her body gave out. She fainted at the gym. Her doctor said, your body thinks it's always in crisis. Because to her nervous system she had confused exhaustion with excellence. Carl Jung said, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. She resisted rest. So burnout persisted. And it grew. Until it consumed her life. Here's the truth. The body keeps the score. And your nervous system doesn't care about your to-do list. It only knows this: stress or safety, threat or peace. When you never let yourself rest, your body assumes you are never safe. You may look disciplined on the outside, but inside, you are in survival mode. That's not ambition. That's adrenaline. And adrenaline isn't sustainable. It will crash. And when it does, so will you. Real discipline is not about pushing until collapse. It's about honoring your capacity. It's about recognizing when your body is whispering, enough, before it starts screaming. Rest is not laziness. It's wisdom. It's what makes the work possible, not optional. Think of any great artist, athlete, leader. They all pause. They all unplug. They all protect their energy, like it's sacred, because it is. There's another reason we avoid rest. Stillness reveals things. When the noise stops, the truth gets loud. The grief, the loneliness, the unmet needs. So we stay busy, because busyness is a brilliant distraction. But healing doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the quiet. That's why rest is uncomfortable. Not because it's wrong, but because it's honest. Here's what Sarah did. She started scheduling nothing, putting rest on her calendar, like any other task. She stopped apologizing for being tired, stopped feeling guilty for choosing softness. She learned to ask herself, is this urgency real, or is it just fear of slowing down? She started measuring her days, not by how much she produced, but by how well she cared for herself. And slowly, her nervous system calmed, her creativity returned, and her sense of self no longer depended on overwork. Here's your reminder. You don't exist to perform. You exist to live, to feel sunlight, to hear laughter, to enjoy meals without multitasking. You are not a machine. You don't need to earn your battery recharge. You are the battery. You will not lose your ambition. By resting, you'll find it again. But this time, it will be rooted in love, not lack. So next time you feel tired, don't ask, what's wrong with me? Ask, what part of me needs more care? Because rest isn't the enemy, it's the reset. And the most productive people are not the ones who do the most, but the ones who recover well. We live in a culture of extremes. All or nothing. Go hard or give up. Push through or collapse. But real growth? It's not found in either extreme. It lives in the space between. That space is called integration, where effort meets empathy, where discipline meets grace. It's not about choosing one side. It's about holding both. We've been told, you have to be tough. You have to push through pain. Ignore emotions. Keep grinding. Never slow down. Or you swing the other way. Only self-soothe. Only rest. Only heal. But here's the truth. You need both. Discipline without compassion becomes punishment. Compassion without structure becomes avoidance. Real healing? Real growth? It's the dance between both. Let me tell you about Eli. He was a perfectionist. Every hour was scheduled. Every minute had a purpose. He journaled. He meditated. He had morning routines down to a science. But inside, he was anxious, restless, always chasing better. He thought he was healing, but he was just hiding behind habits. One day his therapist asked, "What would happen if you missed a day? If you didn't do everything perfectly?" Eli paused, then said, "I think I'd feel like I'm failing." And there it was. The discipline wasn't for growth, it was for control, a way to outrun self-doubt. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Eli's discipline wasn't conscious. It was fear in disguise, a fear of not being enough. So he started practicing something new, letting things be messy. He missed a few routines. He let go of tracking everything, and instead of spiraling, he softened. He learned to sit with discomfort, without numbing it with productivity. This is the work, not running to one side, but learning to hold both. You can wake up early and still rest. You can push your limits and still respect them. You can set goals and still love yourself when you fall short. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. Integration is when the inner critic meets the inner nurturer, and they learn to talk. The critic says, "Keep going." The nurturer says, let's check in first. The critic says, not enough. The nurturer says, you've come far. You don't silence one voice. You give both a seat at the table. Because extremes disconnect you, but integration connects you to your full self. And here's the paradox. The more you allow softness, the stronger you become. Not the strength of armor, but the strength of inner peace. You're no longer proving. You're no longer performing. You're simply becoming. Eli didn't stop being disciplined. But now, he rests when he needs it. He listens to his body. He trusts his feelings. He no longer earns his worth through output. He embodies it in every breath. So ask yourself, what part of you are you ignoring in the name of self-improvement? Is it the part that's tired? The part that's grieving? The part that just wants to be? You don't have to abandon your ambition, but you also don't have to abandon your heart. You are not just a goal setter. You are a human being. This is real growth. Not changing who you are, but remembering who you've always been. Not choosing sides, but choosing wholeness. Discipline brings direction. Compassion brings depth. And together, they bring healing.